In a single inflammatory speech, he denied that Ukraine had any tradition of genuine statehood, claimed that it posed a direct threat to the security of Russia, and hurled numerous other false accusations and aspersions. Soon afterwards, the Kremlin announced that Russian troops would enter the breakaway regions under the guise of peacekeepers. The House should be in no doubt that the deployment of these forces in sovereign Ukrainian territory amounts to a renewed invasion of that country. And by denying Ukraine's legitimacy as a state and presenting its very existence as a mortal threat to Russia, Putin is establishing the pretext for a full-scale offensive. If the worst happens, then a European nation of 44 million men, women and children would become the target of a full-scale war of aggression, waged without a shred of justification. And now our thoughts should turn to our valiant Ukrainian friends, who threaten no one, who ask for nothing except to live in peace and freedom. We will keep faith with them in the critical days that lie ahead. And whatever happens, Mr. Speaker, Britain will not waver in our resolve. And I commend this statement to the House.
Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday was a dark day for Europe. Putin appears determined to plunge Ukraine into a wider war. We must all stand firm in our support for Ukraine. We support the freedom of her people and their right to determine their own future without the gun of an imperialist held to their head. There can be no excuses for Russia's actions. He knows that, given a choice, people will not choose to live under the rule of an erratic and violent authoritarian. So we must remain united and true to our values across this House and with our NATO allies. We must show Putin that we will not be divided. Mr. Speaker, we know Putin's playbook. He seeks division. We must stay united. He believes the benefits of aggression outweigh the consequences, so we must take a stand. And he believes the West is too corrupted to do the right thing, so we must prove him wrong. I believe we can, and I offer the support of the opposition in that vital endeavour. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I thank the right honourable gentleman, the Leader of the Opposition, for the clarity with which he has just spoken and the support that he has given.
But does my right honourable friend share my concern that while the focus today is rightly on protecting Ukrainian independence and territorial integrity, what lies behind this is a wider worldwide trend of authoritarian states trying to impose their way of thinking on others, and that the battle in which we must now engage is nothing more nor less than the defence of democracy itself.
David.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's time to start treating Russia like the rogue state it is, and I strongly welcome the Prime Minister's statement on this darkest of moments, and I recognise the Leader of the Opposition for his strong cross-party support. And in that cross-party spirit, can I urge the Prime Minister to go further today and commit to the following. First, freeze and begin seizing the assets of every single one of Putin's cronies in the UK, and then expel these oligarchs from our country as part of a much stronger sanctions regime. Second, Mr. Speaker, recognise the existential threat posed by Putin to our NATO allies by immediately cancelling his own decision, his misguided decision, to cut our armed forces by 10,000 troops. And third, no longer tolerate international sporting or cultural events hosted in Russia. So can I confirm what I think he implied in an answer to a previous question, that he will push for this year's Champions League final to be moved from St. Petersburg? Mr. Speaker, President Putin has made a terrible decision. Will the Prime Minister make sure he pays a terrible price?
But can I say to my right honourable friend, sanctions can only achieve so much when dealing with an undemocratic state and someone like Putin. What we're witnessing is the real-time cannibalisation of a European democratic state, bite by bite. And ultimately, we will have to ensure that either Ukraine is given the means to defend itself from future aggression, or give some sort of security guarantee, or we will find Russian troops on the borders of Poland, Slovakia, Romania and Hungary, which would be an absolute failure of Western policy.
Ian Duncan Smith.
Speaker, can I commend my right honourable friend and his colleagues for their very stalwart actions so far. The fact is that Mr. Lavrov today said, and I quote, "Ukraine does not have a right to sovereignty." So the ambition and the scale of that ambition is surely completely clear to anybody that doubts it. And so I ask my right honourable friend, should it not be now, and I commend what he's done so far, but should it not be that we need to hit them, if we're going to hit them with sanctions, hard, and hit them now? They need to feel the pain of the first part of this decision. The second thing is, what is the ultimatum to them now? If they move further, are we going to take further action? And I simply say right now, we are facing the growth of the axis of totalitarian states. China will watch this and look at Taiwan. How we behave now and what we do as an alliance will dictate what happens in the Far East.